Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Astros, and I am here to cap off the grading series with part 4, where I talk about the bullpen. Ugh. We finally made it to the end of it, huh? Alright, no further ado, let's get this kicked off. We're going to start with Bryan Abreu, and a question that I ask myself almost daily: how does it feel like Bryan Abreu both pitched maybe once or twice last year, and yet had 25 innings and 27 appearances? How is that possible? OGs of the channel might remember at one point in 2020 that I was hoping that he'd make the starting rotation out of camp. I was younger and clearly dumber. 2021 was not kind to Bryan Abreu. It was actually straight up mean. It was not fun. 5.75 ERA, 4.36 FIP, and you might say, well, Weston, FIP was over a run lower than ERA, and I would say it was still above 4.25. It's still not good, it's just lower. Expected ERA of 4.83, an ERA plus of 75, and his WHIP was at 1.472. He was basically even up a runner and a half an inning. It was not fun for 2021 for Bryan Abreu. Got good velo, got really nice spin rate, but man, there are just not a lot of positives for Bryan Abreu in 2021. He's getting a 2 out of 10. Kind of on the same topic of pitchers who pitched way more than I thought they would, Brandon Bielak had 50 innings in 2021, which is insane. How was that even possible? Bielak wasn't the worst pitcher out of the pen, but he was just sort of okay. He was a pitcher that would soak up more or less the meaningless innings, games we were either winning by a lot, losing by a lot, or just sort of irrelevant games in general. 4.50 ERA, which is not good, but it's not the worst on the team by any means. 4.07 FIP, which is better, still not great or anything. 1.380 WHIP. Man, I hope one day he returns to his pre-dumb joke version of himself, but man, since that, it's been rough, and 2021 was no exception. Brandon, in the off chance you are watching this, I'm sorry that I might have ruined your career with the joke I made, but I also would not take it back because I still think it's funny. 4 out of 10. Alright, next pitcher, Phil Maton. Man, Phil Maton is just unlucky. He is a good pitcher, and I will die on that hill. He's got stuff that plays at this level, clearly. He's just unlucky. Phil Maton had 27 appearances with the Astros in 2021, and in 22 of them, he did not allow a run. 5 games, and realistically 4 of them, because in one of them he only gave up 1 run in his game, 4 games more or less, ruined his ERA with the Astros. He lights up Baseball Savant's percentile rankings. He has great swing and miss stuff, crazy spin. Players cannot get good contact off the guy. 4.72 ERA. That does not look good. Expected ERA of 3.63. That looks a lot better. 3.50 FIP. That looks even better yet. And now, we've hit a bit of a crossroads, because his actual numbers are not great. However, his expected numbers, nerd shit, are really, really good. And so, dependent on how you are, your grade for him is going to widely vary. I'm a stat nerd, so I'm going to go more based off of those expected numbers, and I'm going to give Phil Maton a 6.5 out of 10. And you might be mad at me and hate me for doing that, and I can probably hear some of you unsubscribing as we speak. That's fine. I don't blame you. I just am a nerd. Alright, next up, Blake Taylor. Taylor's come out of nowhere and been a really good pitcher, and probably the second or third best reliever we've had in the pen over the past 2 seasons. He's been really solid. He was elite in 2020. I forgot how good it was. Just a genuinely great season in 2020, and was really, really good again last year. He was great. I believe the exact same ERA as Lance McCullers Jr., so 3.16. Had the second best expected ERA in the team, and had the second best expected batting average. He had a high FIP, but I'm really just going to chalk that up to his walk issue. Great example of this. He's basically just Lance McCullers Jr., but coming out of the pen, and that is high praise, not at all an insult. Blake Taylor's been great for the Astros since coming up, and 2021 was no exception. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for 2021. Next pitcher we're going to look at is Brooks Rayleigh. And if you think I'm going to be able to rate him honestly and fairly, You're wrong. X-Merchant time! But Westonk, what about his ERA? It's sabermetric time, baby. 3.27 FIP, 2.90 expected FIP, exit velo in the 100th percentile, hard hit percentage in the 100th percentile, elite swing and miss stuff, spin rates that were just blow your socks off, 92nd percentile for fastball and 95th for curveball. Do not let normal numbers like ERA sway you. The X-Merchant will live forever in my heart. All right, I might have lost control there for a second. I think generally, if you've watched this channel for a little bit, you know how I feel about Brooks Rayleigh. He is a very unlucky pitcher and does most things properly, just, again, luck is not on his side. The ball does not bounce for him the way you would like it to. Obviously, if you just look at expected statistics, he is one of the best pitchers on the Astros and in the American League. You look at numbers like ERA and WHIP, and they really hold him back from being that because, again, this is a crossroads, not just with this grading, not just with the Astros in general and how they look at Brooks Rayleigh and pitchers like this, but just in general on how long can you give players whose underlying numbers are great, but actual numbers are very not, how long can you let them ride, and how do you evaluate them properly? And I'm going to give him numbers that are far higher than most are, probably, and again, I really like him. I think he is a very good, very underrated pitcher. I think Tampa got a absolute stud that they're probably, because Tampa's magic, he's going to be an all-star this year, just because why not? Because, you know, Tampa's just going to find another gem on the side of the road like Brooks Rayleigh. He is such a perfect fit there, by the way. Like, he just fits that philosophy so well. So, for 2021, hate me if you want, I'm going to give Brooks Rayleigh a 7 out of 10. All right, next up, Ryan Stennik, the setup man for Ryan Presley. Ryan Stennik, what a pickup by Click, man. That was a very, very good move. Led the team last year in games started with 72 and led the team in relief pitching for innings with 68.1. He was good. He was very good in 2021. ERA at 3.42. And man, was he just so much better than that tells you. Ryan Stennik would have these long stretches of greatness, right? He'd go like 20 games and allow like a run, maybe two, and then he would just have a pooper of a game and completely destroy his ERA for a while. Through his first 15 games, he was rolling 1.65 ERA. Absolutely amazing. And then a nightmare against the Texas Rangers. 1/3 of an inning, gives up 4 earned runs. Yikers. Then, massive stretch from May 20th to June 27th, right? 16 games, 2.40 ERA. Really, really nice. And then, wham, blindsided by 5 earned runs in 1 inning against the Orioles of all teams. And so on and so forth. That was his 2021 in a nutshell. It'd be these long stretches where it was just fantastic, and then ERA skyrockets because of a bad night. But overall, man, Stennik was great. I loved Stennik in 2021. I'm excited to see him continue into 2022. Hopefully, he can take those pooper games out and just be elite across the board. But man, he was a great setup man for Ryan Presley. He was an absolute workhorse out of the pen, and we have him under a cheap contract till about 2024. Again, great pickup by Click. That super underrated move. For 2021, I'm going to give Ryan Stennik a 8 out of 10. Second to last pitcher, Christian Javier. All right. Man, can we figure out what we're doing with Christian Javier? Look, is he a starter? Well, he is a starting pitcher. Use him as that. Use him as a starter. If you want to keep using him out of the pen, maybe you got to think about trading him. And look, I love Christian Javier, and I want him to be an Astro. But man, he is so much better as a starting pitcher. Using him as a reliever is a disservice to him and just a misuse of talent on your own roster. Numbers aren't close, guys. As a starter this season, in 9 games, which I know is not a lot, but innings were pretty close. It was about 50 for a starter and 50 for a reliever. As a starter, 3.14 ERA, 1.027 WHIP, and an on-base against of 2.73. He was a great starting pitcher in his 9 games. He was great. He would have been competing for the best starting pitcher on our team. And as a reliever, he was just okay. Coming out of the pen, he had a 3.93 ERA, a 1.329 WHIP, and an on-base against of 3.23. So above league average for the OPI, or for the on-base against. Like, he is so laughably better as a starting pitcher than a reliever. It's insane that we haven't just been like, yeah, he's a starting pitcher. And you might say, well, Weston, the starting rotation is just loaded with talent. And I would say, make room for him. I love Christian Javier, and I want him to be an Astro. But as a reliever, it's just not really worth it. He's so much better as a starting pitcher. Again, he would have been fighting for Lance and Fromber at the top of the rotation. He would have been rated up there with them, but we used him out of the pen, and he was just okay. And so if I were to grade him as a starting pitcher, I'd give him like an 8, right? If he would have been able to do that over a full season, those starting numbers, he's an 8 or a 9. He's up there with Lance. Out of the pen, numbers like that, he's just okay. He's like a 5 out of 10. He's mediocre. And for our final pitcher and the final player of the grading series, Ryan Presley. End on debatably the highest note on the team. Boy, oh boy, was Ryan Presley amazing in 2021. He was not just the best pitcher on the Astros easily. He was one of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball. He, Liam Hendricks, and Josh Hader were in a dogfight for that top spot. I mean, this past season, he was just bananas. 2.25 ERA, 2.06 FIP, .969 nice whip, expected ERA at 2.55, 97th percentile, by the way. A 2.43 expected FIP, elite swing and miss stuff, the best spin rate in the league. Man, Ryan Presley was just amazing. Strikeouts were fantastic. Struck people out at a 32.4% clip. That was 94th percentile on Baseball Savant, by the way. Doesn't walk too many people. 5.4 walk rate. That's 92nd percentile. I mean, he was great. We got the 2019 Presley back. He was amazing. Notched an all-star appearance, his second one as an Astro, and he was a shutdown closer for us in 2021. He was one of our best players and easily our best pitcher, and for 2021, Ryan Presley gets a 10 out of 10. So there you have it. Every prominent player on the 2021 Astros graded by me. And might I just say, I hope you guys enjoyed this, because this was by far my favorite series to make on this channel. Sifting through all the data, going through all the statistics, doing research on all these players was just so much fun. And man, we're inching closer to opening day, less than 2 weeks away. We are really closing in on it, and I am just so excited. I said it in the last grading video, which was for the starting rotation. I'm going to stream that night. I did live streams all throughout October last year for every Astros postseason game, and they were a lot of fun. It was super chill with everybody. And basically, since I ended the last one, I'm like, I got to do that again next season. Not for every game, because that is, whew, that's a lot. But at least once or twice a month I'd like to do it, and I have to do it for opening day. That's just a given. So probably about 10 minutes to opening night, or 10 minutes to game time on opening day. We're going to start a stream. That's going to be late, because we're starting on the West Coast again, but I'm going to be streaming. But as for this video, that's all I have. So thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Astros.